This is the Body Talks, where we're having real conversations about people's experiences in their bodies. I'm Vera, your host, and we explore how movement, living authentically, and finding your own way to connect with yourself shapes the relationship you have with your body. This is where every body has a story. In this episode, we talk about sexual violence. If you're a survivor in need of support, know that help is available. I will have resources linked in the show notes. Today, we're talking to Hillary, a Toronto Creek witch, mother, writer, and gender justice advocate. Hillary specializes in sexual violence prevention education. Since getting her start in grassroots feminist organizing, Hillary has worked in various capacities for sexual assault centers across Ontario, as well as the Ontario Coalition of Rape Crisis Centers. She currently works as a post-secondary sexual violence prevention and education coordinator and is a social media volunteer at the Sexual Assault Center of Brant. A longtime writer, Hillary's most recent work, Three Little Witches, has been published in the Demeter Press collection Gone Feral, Unruly Women, and the Undoing of Normative Femininity. Hillary takes up space and paints it pink with her daughter, a trinity of black cats, and a little black dog. She shares her home with a drummer, writes love letters to the moon, dots eyes with hearts, and makes cat scratches in her notebooks. Hillary has messy hair and can be bossy sometimes, and which she prides herself on both. Welcome, Hillary.
Hi, thank you for having me. And I love how you read that. It
Uh,
makes
I
me feel
loved
so
I
much
loved reading it out loud. It was so
better.
beautiful. It's so fun.
Thank you.
Oh my gosh, how are you doing today?
I'm okay. It's a hot day in Toronto.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I was looking at the weather yesterday, and for those who don't know, I'm also in Toronto, and I think it's like the humidex is going up to 39 degrees Celsius, which is like 102 Fahrenheit, which I'm like, no, that's too much for Canada.
It's a lot. I feel like I'm in, what are those? The butterfly conservatory, like the humidity.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, those are so
like
humid.
house. I feel like that's where I'm living right now.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I feel you. I feel you. But you know what? At least butterfly conservatories are nice because they have the butterflies and the
I
gorgeous
know.
plants and the little fruit laid out. You're not allowed eating that, but the butterflies get to, which is nice.
That's where we're gonna go. That'll be our next adventure. Is what I'm trying to say.
I can't wait. But I hope you're staying cool. And I'd love to get into the very first question, which is to share a little bit about your journey, personally or professionally, that led you to work in sexual violence prevention and survivor support.
Yeah. Oh, this should be if I ever write an autobiography, but I won't do that to you all today. My personal and professional definitely overlap, and it's strange to say. Like, I love doing this work. Of course, I would love if this work didn't need to be done, but anyone in this field understands what I'm saying. I love doing this work. I love being part of the survivor led movement, and I do this work as a survivor myself. So I set the stage with a story that if anyone's met me, you've probably heard this. So sorry, anyone who knows me who's listening. But I left home at 16. I left a unsafe situation and I was staying with various friends. And I remember being in one of these friends' houses and I was at this desk. And I remember the window that I was staring out of while I was on their house phone using the phone book looking up just resources. Like, where does a teenage runaway go? Who does a survivor reach out to for support? And I received a lot of waiting lists. I received a lot of sorry, we don't serve you. You're 16. It's this weird age where you're not a kid and you're not an adult. And I remember just sitting there and being like, okay, like I'm going to be the adult then on the other side of the phone that's going to say, yep, I can support you. And that was like my core. I just remember this so, so well. Like I feel like I'm sitting there right now. And so I did end up going to school for journalism. I was going through the court system at the time as a survivor, and this is super naive, but I'm happy that this part of me existed. I am glad I'm not jaded. I wanted to write about social justice. I wanted to write about stories like mine. I wanted to find community, meet people who are going through the same thing, and really bring a voice to survivors. And that's what I did. I got to write stories. I got to share those stories. It was really empowering, and I found my community. I then wanted to up my education, and a professor at my college suggested doing gender studies at York University. So I did do that. It didn't hurt that OSAP gives more money than Ontario works. So I was happy to do that. Got my bachelor's, and then again, with the encouragement of professors, I got my master's degree, which was like pretty cool because when I was in high school, I had a vice principal who said kids like me, so homeless kids, don't graduate. But I
Yeah.
did, yeah. I think I have more education than she does now. So there you go. And that led me to working in sexual assault centers. So I had this like, I have this very specific skill set where I have the education side of things as well as the just that specialist, subject matter expert lens. That's the wording I was looking for. That I could use when working with centers. And then that led me into working into a post-secondary institution.
I love that so much. And like it sounds like, that you didn't really have a lot of support, especially at the beginning from places that, should have been helping you out, which I think is really rough. Like I know in a different conversation, you're kind of sharing a story when you were at Planned Parenthood, and it was kind of about language. I don't know if you want to share that.
Absolutely. Yeah. So it wasn't Planned Parenthood, but it was something similar. It was this
Okay.
sexual health clinic in the mall called the Oshawa Center. It's
Yes.
a working class town, just to like set the stage, because I don't think the young people, including myself, were always treated the best when we went there. But I did disclose I was 14 years old, and I told a nurse I was raped. And she responded with, "We don't use that word here." And I
Mm,
went, "Oh, okay." And I never told anyone again, like no one official thing, because
yeah.
I didn't know. And I'm like, it came from a childhood where the grown-ups didn't really help anyway. So I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
that's par the course. And it did. That shaped me as well, right? Because just the phrasing, "we don't use that word here,"
Yeah.
was so
That.
interesting to me. And the whole idea of language and the need to have a specific language in order to advocate yourself and like advocate for yourself is also what led me to go to school. Because I'm like, I need support. I need
Yeah.
help. What words am I missing? And so
Mm.
I went to school and got this very privileged vocabulary, to be honest. Like now I'm in this place of privilege where I do know the right words to say and be able to connect with supports.
Yeah.
But it's, yeah.
Yeah, and that always stuck with me because I think that, oh, you're not using the right language, the right vocabulary at this sexual health clinic, but you were 14, what type of language were they expecting? And it just makes me think, yeah, because you went to school and learned this vocabulary now, but and like you mentioned, like it is privileged to have that. And I think of how many people and survivors have not had that same privilege and don't know that vocabulary. Like, how can we best support survivors if we're not allowing them to use words that they understand and know best to describe their situations?
Exactly. I mean, in that case too, it's kind of I don't know what other word I was supposed to use. I used a very blunt word there, but
Yeah.
I I totally agree with you. And I think that goes back to when I was sitting at that desk and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna get those tools. Because yeah, not everyone it has the time or energy. Like this just happens to be now my profession.
Yeah.
Like so yeah, for the folks that aren't able to articulate the language, that this inaccessible language that's been created, I hope that I can be the translator, the in between.
Yeah, like, for those listening and tuning in, Hillary and I are pretty good friends, and the way we met, I think, is kind of interesting, I guess the word would be. Because we think of it, we're not like, we were in similar friend groups or we were at an event together. I was looking for support for my own court case of sexual assault, and I was reaching out to people on Facebook, out of all places, to be like, I need support. I need someone to be like, hey, I believe you. I know what you're going through, because at that time, the friends I had, some of them I knew would like definitely support me, but it was in that time of like the 2010s where the Me Too movement hasn't started, and there was just so much shame, which like there still is, but there was so much shame around getting sexually assaulted, especially the fact that I was ended up in court for it. And Hillary was one of those people who showed up to help support me, and forever grateful for Hillary and all those other people who showed up who didn't know me at that time, but were like, no, I've been through this system myself. I know what it's like, and I know this person is going to need some support. And I think that's so important. And but also the fact that, yeah, like the language used even in, say, the court system, I didn't understand half of it.
The language used in court is wild. Like when I first went to court as a survivor of domestic violence, I didn't know what was happening. The Crown didn't
Mhm.
even speak to me. I just showed up and like sat down. I wasn't sure what to do. And I didn't understand what was happening
Yeah.
at all. And like I remember asking an officer, what did I ask him? It was so, again, naive, but I was like very young and like I was looking for help. Oh, I said, do I have to see him? Do I have to be in the same room as him? And the officer laughed at me and was like, yeah, of course. Like
Oh
I
my,
was the ridiculous one, as opposed to looking at what a ridiculous situation where we're putting this
yeah.
person in the same space as someone who perpetrated violence and we're expecting her to make sense of it all under that.
Yeah.
It's so interesting. And then like that experience made me really interested. That's like I was doing court support, and I'm so happy we connected because now we're get to be in community and just the community we found there.
Yeah.
And like you mentioned, like, oh, like we didn't know each other, but in that instance, like I felt like I did, and that might have been projecting, but it's like, no, I know the vulnerability and
Yeah.
all the feelings, the like anger, the fear, the confusion.
Yeah, and I think, like, first of all, the fact that the guard laughed and was like, "Of course," like, that's ridiculous. I'm
Gosh.
so sorry for you and anyone who's ever dealt with someone who, diminished your experience that way, to be like, of course, like, what, we weren't told. And I think
Yeah.
I'm very grateful because when I was going through the system, the crown or lawyer, whoever it was, who was on my side, there was like kind of a set room, multiple days prior, that he went over all these, like, this is going to happen. This is what it looks like. He even took me to an empty courtroom, like when we first met, and was like, just so you
Yeah.
know, this is the layout of the room. And like, I'm so grateful that he was very like aware that like, okay, like I need to be as underwhelmed as possible when it happens, because the whole event is like your nervous system, your fight or flight is going wild. And so at least there's some like, okay, at least I know what the courtroom's like. At least I know that this person's going to be there, that person's going to be there. This is how the other lawyer is going to be acting towards me. This is how the judge will be. So I at least had some prep of what was going to happen, but I think how often that does not happen. And you're just thrown into this room and suddenly you're getting questioned, and they're very personal questions, and you're in front of an audience, really, because not only is the perpetrator there, but also the perpetrator's family and maybe
Yeah.
friends are there, people supporting that person, people who may be supporting you. I know during mine, I don't know if you remember this, but on the last day when it was the verdict, there was like a law class in there or something.
Yeah, I had
A
some work
whole,
with some of them.
yeah, it was like a packed courtroom, and I'm like, this was not like this before. And it was like everyone had their little notebooks, making notes, and I'm like, oh, I'm just part of another case study for these students, I guess. And, that was very odd for me. And I just think, there's so much that goes on that's just, I wish we had more common knowledge of like, if you do end up going through this, like, this is kind of the things that happen. And I think, having people who will support you and be like, who've been through that similar situation too, can at least be like, hey, just so you know, like, let's prepare you now. So even though your fight or flight is going to be going off during this event,
Yeah.
we can at least kind of protect and keep some of you feeling a little bit safe, right?
Like validating that for sure. I think that's why I like this movement is unique in that it is so survivor led, which has its downsides as well, because it's a lot of we're all healing at the same time while like advocating for safety and security and having to create these spaces in order just to be able to speak to it. But
Mhm.
like it wasn't for me at least, because you said like I think you said it so well. You're like, I think the Crown, my lawyer or something. It wasn't even your case. It was the Crown's case, and you were like
Yeah.
evidence.
Yeah, I was just happened to be there.
And like no one even I don't know, I wouldn't have learned that when I went through the court system. It was when I met other survivors who went through it and when I found this community and court support. And I was like, oh, because I too kind of was like, I guess the Crown's my lawyer. Like, what's happening? Like, there's
Yeah.
no course for it,
Yeah.
but we're expected to perform really well.
Um, And it makes me, you just saying that, I'm like, of course, because it makes sense. Because I think of how in my situation, I didn't want to press charges. I didn't want to go to court. I didn't want to put myself through that. And I was kind of, nah, it doesn't matter what you think. You told us your story. Now it's happening. And I think I'm like, well, of course, because I'm just, yeah, like you said, the evidence in the situation.
Wild.
I'm not actually, the person who's like, this is my case. This is my, no, no, I'm just there as the kind of prop of like, look at what happened to this person.
Which is wild. I know I might be jumping ahead a little bit, but it's just making me think of so when you experience sexual violence, it's a loss of power, a loss of agency, and then if you do go through the court process, it can be like an exacerbation of that, right? Like you often hear about secondary trauma or how these systems can be re-traumatizing, which is what Mm. I was like, I'm going somewhere with this. We talk a lot about survivor first support and keeping things survivor centered. And it's checking in with a survivor and being like, what does justice look like to you? Like, what does
Mm,
accountability look like to you? And
yeah,
then really listening to it, which can be difficult. I mean,
yeah.
listening alone is so hard. I used to do the crisis line and I
Mm,
had to get used to sitting in silence because folks might like would call and kind of just want to cry or just sit there and know somebody else was on the other end of the phone. And it took a lot for me to not fill in the gaps and be like, oh, these are the
yeah.
resources, or let me fix this for you right now, which that's not what they asked for. They asked
Hmm.
for me to be there and just to sit in silence. And I think about that, like how being survivor first and survivor centered is like about listening, those validating statements, like the words "I believe you." I always get like I always use this example and I get goosebumps every time. I think it's easy to take for granted that the person we're talking to knows it, but actually
Yeah.
saying those words can change like my body is affected by it right now. Like it can change the
Yeah.
space, like it can create the sense of safety and security that's needed in order to keep going, whatever that keep going looks like.
Hmm. Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's something about that phrase that is very powerful. Like, whether it be we or I believe you,
Yeah.
like, to as even just as a reminder, even if you already knew it, but as a reminder to the survivor in question to be like, oh yeah, like, I am not alone in this situation.
Yeah.
I do have support and people to lean on when it gets rough. Cause like, the brain is when it's going through something like that, it's a lot. It's a mess sometimes.
Right? And of
Like,
course it is.
yeah. Like, and one thing you mentioned, like, when you were about to say that line was like how you can felt a feeling in your body. And
Yeah,
on that, I'd love to know, like, did your relationship to your body shift once you started leading survivor-centered work?
absolutely. So I know I'm being vague about it, but that's going to be a whole other episode or series if I went through my whole childhood. But I I started experiencing stuff really young, like in childhood, and I got it ingrained in my head. I was like, if I just get pretty enough, this won't happen to me. If I reach this level of perfection, this won't happen to me. And my body from a really young age, I was like conditioned to see it as this like source of pain, this source of like something to be ashamed of, gross. And I really carried that for so long. I think the only break I got was when I was pregnant. So my body was just busy doing something else. And it's
Yeah.
so cool to like get acquainted with this new version of myself. But that wasn't forever. Oh,
Yeah.
I'm not still pregnant. So doing this work, I think showing care and compassion to other survivors forces me to think about that for
Yeah.
myself and like really analyzing, well, why do I think I have to be perfect? And I mean, I'm the only feminized person to ever feel that pressure.
Yeah.
So there's a million answers to that. And I'm sure everyone who's listening can already list a whole bunch. But it really made me sit down and go, why do I need this action? What does this look like to me? How can I reclaim, like, it's mine? Like, for
Yeah.
so long, my relationship with my body felt so dissociated, like I was a balloon floating outside, and this body was like there, but I wasn't attached. And I still talk about myself that way. I'll talk about my brain and my body. And
Yeah.
so I think like I'm at this period of my life now where I'm like, no, it's mine. Like
Yeah.
I have it, and it's it's for keeps. Like
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Your body is there to protect you and to help you continue on living life. It's there just to keep you grounded and it's tough, especially with something like being a survivor of sexual violence. Like there's a huge disconnect. So to kind of really reclaim that is, I think, so important and so great that you've been getting to that point.
I think it's because like in these spaces, like when we're talking about community and like survivor led spaces as well, just talking about support and like actually feeling genuinely supported, like because it looks so different to people, right? Like two people can experience
Yeah.
the same thing on paper. It could look like the same experience, but then all of our identities and life experiences, just how our brain and body works. I mean, you'll know that more than anyone. Like the reactions can be so different.
Yeah.
So like having a space where it's like I need time to process XYZ without judgment. I mean, I guess we kind of talked about this in the beginning already. Like someone might think reporting is like for someone going through the court system can be like what accountability and justice and support looks like to them.
Mhm.
Sure, absolutely. But not everyone will want that route, and that's okay too. It's okay to want that, and it's okay not to want it. It's okay to want to play video games all day. It's okay to want to, I don't know what self care looks so different every day, right? But
Yeah.
supported
Hmm.
and just feeling genuinely supported. That's what we need in order to develop these relationships, I think, with our body. We need the space, we need the community before community care before self care.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yes. Community care before self-care, definitely. So, we already talked about this, but I guess just to really put it, I guess, a definition to it, putting survivors first and survivor-led care, would you say that is just how would you describe that? Like just if you're really put it really succinct into one sentence even.
Yeah, really just like giving agency back, giving power
Mhm.
back where power was taken away. I think
Yeah.
that's the core of it. That's just like being compassionate, being just a person. It's one of those things I know it sounds really simple, and then life makes it so difficult sometimes and navigating it. And again, people are different, right? Like we could have such different ideas about support. And I'm like, I want to support you so much, but you're not doing it the way I want you to do. right? But like, I don't know. That's what it is. It's being uncomfortable and it's just being humans together, I think.
Yeah. And I do think you already mentioned it, but I'd love to just ask outright, what is the best thing we can do to support someone who we find out is a survivor? And we really care about them, we love them, we want to do all we can for them. And bring them cake and bring them flowers and hug them and hold them for like 5 hours on end. What do you think really is the best thing we can do for someone who's going through that?
My sister definitely made me a cake when I was going through court, and I ate the whole thing. So we know what that looks like for me. It's taking their lead. It really is. And not taking it personally, because we're still humans ourselves, right? So we want to be compassionate to the person who's experienced the violence, and we want to be compassionate with ourselves as well. Like if you
Mm.
come over and you're like, Hillary, here's this cake and flowers, which like feel free to do whatever. But now I'm like, no, it's like I want to be alone right now. Like for me,
Yeah.
support is being alone.
Mm.
It would be natural to feel a little bit rejected there, of course. Then just remind yourself, like, okay,
Yeah.
not personal. Support just looks different. It's kind of communication, right? Like we're learning what support looks like to each other and respecting
Yeah.
one. I think like I use this example all the time because it's just such an obvious one. But survivors rarely report. I mean, and I don't blame them. Like
Yeah.
most of the time there's not a conviction. And even if that's not what someone saw as support, it can be a re-traumatizing process. And we see things like this in the media. Like I mentioned, we were talking earlier. Sorry, everyone. I know you're not with us all the time. But Hockey Canada. So many survivors, as that story was in the media, sexual assault centers were receiving, I don't even know the number. Go to sexual assault support, they'll probably have the stats, but like calls amplified, folks reaching out amplified because it's like a re-traumatizing thing just hearing about it,
Yeah. Definitely.
right? So I say all of this because this can be one where it's like, well, why didn't you report? If you don't
Mhm.
report, someone else will get hurt and that's your fault.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, no, that's not being supportive. You're actually like placing the blame back on the person who experienced the violence. And I understand the like intent, so that's the intent, right?
Yeah.
And that's just not what support looked like for them. If they're saying, I don't want to go through this, they don't have to. We don't have to play
Mhm.
detective and find out why. We can just listen. We don't need the whole story right away. We can hear like disclosures are never like this, like, or rarely, I should never, are rarely this like linear, perfect narrative. Like if you
Yeah.
give a disclosure, it might be in pieces.
Mhm.
Our minds don't always remember everything traumatic because our brains are trying really hard to take care of us, right? Like,
Yeah.
so you might get things in pieces, and that's okay. Just meet them when they're there, I think.
Yeah, let them take the lead and, listen. Like you said, like how you were dealing when you were working in the crisis line, like you had to be silent. And like, yeah, I think that's so important because, yeah, like when you're silent, then you can really focus on what that person is saying or not saying and, you
Yeah,
know, offering like what do they need and helping them out in that way, not assuming what they may want or need.
exactly. Like, oh, this works for me, so it'll work for you. Like it's
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, right. So I'd love to know, like, how do you build consent culture in spaces that have historically lacked it, like campuses or institutions?
It goes back to community. I know I keep using this word. It's because I fully, fully believe it. I, who knows, maybe in 5 years I'll listen to this and be like, oh, silly me. And I figured out how to do this. I really don't think we're ever going to meet this like benevolent person at the very top of everything and be like, can you make the violence stop? And they're like, okay. Like,
Mm.
I just don't think it's going to happen.
Yeah.
I think it happens on the ground. This work is done on campuses, on post-secondary campuses, because of student voices, because of community organizing, because of the voices that are working within sexual assault centers, saying,
Mm.
hey, like the first few weeks of college and university, that's like this heightened time. where folks might experience sexual violence. Like, what's going
Mhm.
on? We should actually name this and look into this and put research into it. And that work is being done now, thankfully, but it's
Mhm.
because of community. It wouldn't
Yeah.
happen.
Like, yeah, it's so important to focus on community because, I think of any situation like, the state of the world right now, not too hot,
Yeah.
to put it lightly. And I think, yeah, it's like your voice can only reach as far as the edges of your community. But then if your community is also doing that, then it's reaching a further community and further, and it just keeps growing that way. And I think that is how we can eventually make changes up top. But it's such a hard battle. And to at least focus on what you can focus on
Yeah.
versus assuming you can just be like, ah, yes, the laws have changed overnight thanks to me. Like it's
That's
not going to happen.
that's how burnout happens. And it's ego, right? Oh, I definitely when I oh, I'm gonna write stories and people are gonna read them and then be like, oh, things are bad. Okay, we'll change it. Thanks, Hillary. Like there were voices way before me. I'm gonna give myself some credit. It's quite young. But like there's been so much work done to get us here and there's so much work to go. And if we don't have community, we can't do it. Like we need to be able to have time where we become like a little slug on the couch and just like sleep and
Yeah.
rest. Or like again, this Hockey Canada verdict, I felt, and maybe this is the ego thing, but like as it was coming in, I'm like, okay, what can I do? What am I gonna do? What am I gonna do to fix this? Like I can fix it. And I felt almost this like pressure of like, hey, if you care, you'll change it. If you care, you'll change it. But that's like what that's capitalism. Capitalism told me that. Like pull yourself up by the bootstraps, just make it
Yeah.
happen. It's all on you as an individual. And I got a message from a peer the next day. She shared it with a lot of people who do this work and was like, let's take today. So it's Friday. Let's take today to grieve. Let's take
Mm,
today to rage. Let's just take care of ourselves. Monday, we're going to come together and think about next steps. But like, if
yeah.
you need to cry right now, like, cry. Like, that's fine. And someone else will do the work while you're crying. Like, that's what community
Yeah.
is, right? We take care of each other. And it's
Yeah.
not always going to be everyone's out there 100%, whatever that looks like. It's
Yeah.
unfair. That doesn't,
Mhm. Yeah.
how, yeah.
I love that. Yeah, and it just really comes back to the importance of the community.
Yeah.
And I'd love to know what are some of the biggest shifts you've seen when survivors feel truly believed and supported?
All right. So when someone finds themselves in community and they have that safety piece and that security piece, and just like that, yeah, I'm going to go back to the word safety again, like space to actually grow and heal and mourn and all the messy in betweens. Cause again, it's not linear. That's when they can start really processing. And
Yeah.
you can't, I really, really, I know self care is awesome. It's been super commodified, which is a shame because it was such a radical concept. But you really, really can't have self care without the community care piece. That just doesn't, the community care is the soil, and then the self care is a little plant that gets to grow. I super simplified gardening there, but you know what I'm saying.
I love it. And of course, I love anything that relates to plants. But no, I think that is so true. To
Yeah.
be at a place where you feel safe is where you can kind of explore the hard feelings if that's where you want to go, but it's also a place where you can, move forward and focus on healing, however that may look for the person, right?
And finding your voice and finding where you fit within like this new community you found yourself in. So I actually didn't reach out, which is funny now. It's like I'm such a advocate for them now. But I didn't reach out to a sexual assault center immediately. It wasn't until I started working within them and being like, oh, okay. Like I think I was always intimidated by them in a way. Like
Mm.
I would see them as I saw, like I grew up within various systems. So I would see them like how I saw other social workers, like folks that didn't really know where I was coming from, like the Ontario Works or even Children's Aid. Like when people are talking to me, I always felt like there was this power dynamic where I
Yeah.
sexual assault centers And of course, like nowhere's a utopia. I don't want to dismiss anyone if they've had a not great experience, 'cause that's valid as well. But these spaces, there's more likelihood where you'll find other survivors. And you're like, oh,
Mhm.
it's okay that I didn't articulate my experience properly with all of these correct terms and
Yeah.
definitions. And it's okay that like I cry still, or like, what's the example I used the other day? Because it's true. Oh, I can be. So I thought my apartment was going to burn down. Like there was a fire in the apartment building. Speaking to you all from it, so it's fine. Like really calm. I'm like, okay, yep, let's get out. I got 3 cats, a dog, kid, and husband out the door. And it was so calm. If my sweater shrinks in the dryer, I will be a mess. Like I will just be sobbing. I will think about all I've done wrong, how
Yeah.
I was of that sweater. And like I thought there was something so wrong with me for this. Like if I didn't know who was talking to us about nervous systems when we were kids in school. Right?
Yeah. No, really though.
I didn't know. I didn't know what being dysregulated meant. It was talking to other survivors, finding my voice, seeing where I fit in. I'm not on the crisis line anymore. I don't think I could do that forever. I think I can do this forever, though. I think I can talk to other people, try to make the language more accessible, found my place, and I think there's opportunity for survivors to do that within this movement.
Yes, I love that. And I do have one of the questions, but we answered it. But I'm gonna bring it up again because I do think it's so important, which is, you know, why is it so hard for survivors to feel safe in their bodies again? Which I think I do want to ask you that question, but the other part which has been answered is how do we gently start that process? Which to answer that, I think really what you've said already is, give them a space that is safe to them and a place where they can feel comfortable, kind of, letting their guard down and exploring whatever they need to explore to move forward, to grow, to find their voice. Yeah. So back to that first question though, like why is it so hard for survivors to feel safe in their bodies?
You all experience harm, so all of a sudden your body is this space of harm. Like it's a site of
Yeah.
harm. That's what I was trying to say, a site of harm. And I mean, survivors have so much against them. We don't live in a consent culture. We just
Yeah.
don't. We live in a rape culture. It's very profitable. Yeah, like
Yeah.
we live in a world where if you say this happened to me, it's pretty likely you're going to hear a bunch of voices back going, well, why did you do XYZ? Did
Mm-hmm.
you wear this? Why didn't you do that? It's your fault. It's, oh, they did something wrong. The person who
Yeah.
perpetrated, the person, like the violence, the person who did the violence, we don't even talk about them. Let's talk about
Yeah.
everything you did wrong. And you hear this messaging, I mean, every day, and it's not always sexual violence specifically, but things that lead into it, like, oh, we
Mhm.
look a certain way, we don't move a certain way, we don't act a certain way. There's so much stuff we're told that's wrong with us more than we get to hear what's awesome about us or neutral about us. Like
Yeah.
constantly, you're bad, 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 bad. And then you experience this violence. It's almost like, well, of course I did. The
Yeah.
body that I'm in is bad. So it's hard to escape that unless you have a space to do that. And these spaces they need to be intentional.
Mm.
Unfortunately, I wish, right? Like I wish we could go out like, oh, what are those books? Is it Richard Scary? Like those animals? I wish, right?
Yeah.
That'd be beautiful. But we're not there yet though. So we have to
Yeah.
make little communities for each other and kind of challenge this dominant culture that we are all surviving.
Definitely. And I do think, like, on the Richard Scary note, wouldn't that be the most beautiful place to live? I cannot imagine anything bad ever happening there.
But it
And
didn't.
it's definitely a consent-centered culture, which I I can think, it's honestly sometimes hard to imagine because of how ingrained this society of the shame and the guilt and the fear that is instilled into us is. that it's kind of hard to imagine and almost scary to imagine something so radically different than what we're currently living in.
I get that a lot too. Well, that's just the way it is.
Mhm.
Like maybe not like directly like someone says that about sexual violence specifically, but I mean sexual violence exists because of this entire foundation that we have capitalism. I'm gonna keep on picking on you
Mhm.
because but like it exists. It's not like we're not in a healthy place. The-
Yeah, so I think, yeah, and based on what you said before, like that's why community is so important because, the society right now, not so great, but our community where we are choosing to be around people who help us feel safe and supported. Now that is something I can get behind and go ahead with.
and it's so powerful. If community wasn't powerful, it wouldn't be seen as a threat and it
Mm.
wouldn't be under attack the way that it is.
Oh gosh. I'm honestly thinking of doing an episode just on the hyper individualism issue that, is definitely from capitalism
Yeah,
and how terrible it is for all of us.
so bad. Well, that's again like why survivors may feel it's my fault because that's what we're conditioned to think. Everything that happens to us is a result of our choices and moral failings, and that's not reality.
Yeah.
It's really hard to remember that though on our own when that's what's being fed to us. So that's again that beautiful community piece where your friend can be like, no, that's fucked up. So
Oh my,
close. I almost didn't.
yeah. It immediately brought me back to the day after I went through that sexual violence. And I remember I was in the bathroom with a bunch of other coworkers and I told them what happened. And I said it so matter of fact, like, yeah, this is what happened. Like, and I did, and everyone stopped and stared at me and said, "Are you okay?" And I was shocked because I'm like, "What do you mean? What do you mean? Am I okay? I don't,
Should I
what
not
happened?"
be?
Yeah, no, really, that's what it was. Like, should I not be okay? And they're like, think about what you just said. And I'm like, oh, yeah. Because I was so conditioned that, like, my fault. I brought this on myself. I did this. I did that. Not someone who wanted to cause harm decided to cause harm.
And we're not allowed to not be okay. Like it's
Yeah.
always like, okay, like brush it off. And I get it. I get sometimes people really are well intentioned when they say this, but like, and I'm not the first person to say this. I didn't invent what I'm about to say, but just the word resilience has almost been like weaponized. Like, oh
Mm.
my gosh, you're resilient, you're strong. And you would think those are like nice, beautiful, powerful statements. And I think we can reclaim them to be.
Mhm.
They just get used like, why are you not okay? Just be strong. Just
Yeah.
remember it. You're powerful. And I'm just, oh, can I
Like
just
they're
today? Like, can I just cry and be not active today?
like I really think it's time and a place.
Yeah.
And maybe that place and time is not now, not here. Maybe it's next week somewhere else. Maybe. Like we don't need to be strong and resilient at every single moment of time. Like that's literally the purpose again of the community of like so we can support and lean on each other for when we're not feeling strong, we're not feeling resilient. We need to just like have that moment just break down and cry and like have like a really ugly sob, but like have a friend, whether it be online or in person, give you kind of that like, virtual or physical hug to be like, like I'm here to support you however you need, like, right?
The space to be ugly.
Yeah, exactly though.
Yeah.
That's that's what it is. We just need the space to be ugly. So, one thing you've been getting into a lot recently, thanks to your kid, your teen, is circus arts. So, circus isn't something most people would think is trauma recovery, but why do you think it's powerful for survivors?
So funny because before I didn't, I wouldn't have necessarily thought of it either. So you and I were talking about the math here. I think think it's been almost whatever, like 5 years, maybe just over 5 years ago. My teenager started doing circus classes in Toronto. It's called Rainbow Circus, 2S LGBTQ plus friendly, and they're having a blast. And it seemed like such a perfect fit. My teenager is very, what's the word? Spirited, a spirited child. So it made sense. It didn't necessarily make sense for a more reserved mom. I don't know. Like, and I didn't have a relationship with my body until like very recently, and circus played a huge part in this in a way that I wouldn't have realized. I signed up because I get the emails, I get the monthly newsletters, and there are these adult classes.
Mm.
And I kept going, okay, maybe one day, maybe one day. And then something inside of me is like, okay, you're going to say this forever. You're going to say maybe one day, and then you're going to be sad that you didn't do it. Like, there's going to be some FOMO. So just do it. If you don't like it, you don't have to keep going. Right? Like,
Yeah.
I don't, the idea of that also, because of all this idea around perfection, navigating
Yeah.
like survivorhood, I'm like, oh yeah, I don't have to be perfect at it, which is,
Yeah.
it was just such an empowering realization for myself. I'm embarrassed how long it's taken me to get there, but whatever. When I started, like I'm not good at it. Like my kids going to the ceiling, going up silks, right? Like I'm not getting up there. But I'm having fun,
Yeah.
which is so new to me because I'm not doing it. I'm not going to get a medal. I'm not going to be in Cirque du Soleil, but I'm having fun and I'm
Yeah.
forced to pay attention to my body. The instructor is saying, move your leg around the silk this way. And I have to pay attention to, oh, my leg. Like, it's not just,
Mm.
oh, I'm acknowledging I have a body. My body has parts. Like, that's something that's so new to me and really
Yeah.
grounded and connected. What did you call it? Mind body connection.
Mind body connection.
Never
Yes.
had that before. And it just felt so powerful. And I remember feeling silly about it, telling my therapist about it. And she got emotional. And she's like, this is literally the thing I was trying to tell you. Like, you're just allowed to play and be
Yeah.
happy. And I never saw my body as that. I always prided myself on being resilient, being
Mm.
withstand pain. I'm very sensory seeking. I did not great things to my body before. I never even thought about it as a source of play.
Yeah. And like it really goes to show like how impactful finding joyful movement is.
And it exists, right? Like, and I know anyone that's listening to this already knows because you talk about this all the time, but like exercising and just like that idea of like, oh, I'm gonna do it wrong, or like I'm really susceptible to this. I still like go to the gym, but I try to challenge my internal critic where it's like, well, I didn't go on the treadmill for this long, this fast, at this incline,
Mm.
like these numbers.
Yeah.
Circus, I don't have that expectation
Yeah.
for myself. I'm just like, you're gonna just go. And maybe
Yeah.
you won't even tie the knot properly today. But it's okay because you're allowed to
Yeah.
just for this little time have fun. Or not for this little time, but let's start
Yeah.
small. I can't reinvent my whole brain in a day.
Yeah. And like, it's creating that mind body connection, which again is something survivors don't like, we lose that for sure from our body because, like you were saying before, like our body is a site of harm. So, to not only, through community work or not community work, but community care and, doing things like joyful movement, however that may be, whether it be circus or something else, because everyone's joyful movement is different, but to find up somewhere where we can move our bodies and not only build that mind body connection, but like you said, to play, to rediscover, the joy of movement. That's literally why it's called joyful movement. Just so we can, move our bodies and reconnect to how our bodies feel moving through these. And it also, when you're being mindful of your body and how it's moving and having that mind body connection really strong, you're not focusing on all those little nagging voices in your head. You can't because you're focusing on what your body is doing to be intentional
Forced
with
to
that
be in
movement.
there. That's what I think I like. Like, my brain loves to float away, but I'm
Yeah.
forced. If I'm not paying attention, I'm gonna fall down. Like,
Yeah.
you have to be there, but it's like cool. And I think survivors get painted in a way where it's like, well, you're damaged. Even if
Mm,
it's like people who are sympathetic, they're like, oh, poor you, like you're damaged now. And it's like, oh, I guess I'm not allowed to be happy again or be
yeah.
happy for the first time or like be happy sometimes. Like, you're almost not allowed joy anymore. Like, that's not according to
Mm,
script.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, yeah. So what would you say to folks who are curious about movement-based healing, but they feel disconnected or afraid?
Okay. I can only speak to my experience. I think I don't know, just like it sounds so simple and I know it's not because like I told you, I hemmed and hawed forever. But
Yeah.
like you really just have to and it's probably not gonna feel comfortable the first time. Like
Yeah.
it wasn't for me. And like I hated my body. I'm so happy now. Like I say that and I feel sad hearing that because I am not in that space anymore, thankfully. But I was like, why would I go there? I'm gonna look stupid. And then if I
Mhm.
look stupid, that means I'm not perfect. And then if I'm not perfect, if I ever experience harm, I'm not going to get support. Like it's like so rooted, right? Like it's
Yeah.
boom, boom, boom. And I have to sit and think about it because I'm not so enlightened. I'm like, that's why I had to unpack that, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So just forcing yourself to do it, just accepting like, I might not do it. Quotation marks for anyone who's only listening, like right,
Yeah.
whatever right is. I really think just do it for yourself. Like
Yeah.
you deserve it. You're allowed. If someone needs to give you permission, like that doesn't have to be the case, but if that's what you need to motivate you, like this, we are giving you permission to have joyful movement in your life.
Yeah, you deserve that.
Yeah.
And one thing I would add for that, because I do think, yeah, it's it's that hesitation. It's always, they always say the first step is the hardest, and they're not wrong.
Oh my God.
And I think one thing, if you're like, I really don't know, and maybe it's that perfection mindset like you have or whatever it may be of before that first class, go with someone you trust. Go with a friend, bring a loved one, and be like, we're going to do this thing, and we may both be terrible at it, but we're going to be terrible together. I do find that can be really helpful for people to know they have someone right beside them doing it and they can talk about their experiences together so they have someone to relate to in that moment if it's something like movement based.
I love that. Like, as you were saying that, I was picturing like two kittens just learning to walk together. And like
Yeah.
kittens were like, so cute. And then for us, we're like, no, we cannot wobble.
Yeah.
So
We must walk perfectly.
we have to, yeah, I love that. Bring a friend. Bring a kitten.
Yeah, of course. Bring a kitten along. Oh my gosh, Hillary, thank you so much for joining me.
Oh, thank
If people want to learn more about you, or maybe even we didn't really talk about your writing, but we should another time, even get in on the book you're a part of, where can people find you and learn more about you?
Okay, I know this doesn't sound cool, but LinkedIn. Find me on LinkedIn. I swear I'm not trying to be a thought leader. I'm just there sharing feelings. I'm probably doing it wrong, but that's where you can find me. It has a link to my website that has been neglected. Not gonna lie, it's not gonna be perfect, and that's okay. But you can connect with me on LinkedIn. And as for the book, thank you so much. It's a Demeter Press collection. So I'll send you the link. That can be added in there. Folks can
Yeah, we'll be.
there. You can also just connect with me and send you a link. You can also just connect with me and say hi, or if you do need connections to supports, that's literally my everything. That's all I ever want to do is connect with people and create community. So please reach out.
Yeah. Well, of course, all those links, well, that LinkedIn for sure will be a show notes. But definitely connect with Hillary because she's just a sweetheart. And I'm not just saying it because we're friends. She really is. Um, so one final question for you. What's a phrase or even a reminder that brings you back to yourself when you're needing grounding or compassion that you could share with those tuning in?
Right, so I am a recovering good girl. Fawn is definitely my default. I never wanted to be any trouble. I never wanted to cause anyone trouble. I never wanted to make trouble. And then I realized the only way that I was going to heal and grow and be a community member to everyone that I care about was to cause some trouble. So I always say Demeter girls are trouble. And I invite others to do the same. I invite you to make trouble and be trouble.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Make trouble and be trouble. Thank you, Hillary, for joining me in this conversation on the body talks.
Yeah.
And oh, I love it. And thank you to the listeners for tuning in. Remember to drink some water, do something kind for your body today, and I'll catch you on the next one.